Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday evening. It is 9 o'clock. It's time to gather in the music room, do a movie review, and a bit of live chatter. But first, as always, a little music. Enjoy.
We are all the heirs to Scotland, as a nation proudly stand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. To the world we bid a welcome in 1,000 different ways. We will toast to long lost friendships as we build our better days. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. We are all the heroes of Scotland. We're a nation hand in hand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum.
Good evening, folks. Hope you're all enjoying yourself. Without further ado, I shall bring on our movie reviewers and see what they're all up to these days. First and foremost is our very own Simpson. Good evening,
Good evening,
Simpson.
everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, I literally just got, well, the email send date was 8:39, but I don't know if it's because my machine hadn't refreshed, but I got it at 8:55. But here are the foibles of using a free email service. Hope
Exactly.
you're doing well, my friend, and looking forward to this one. Believe it or not, I really enjoyed it. So good.
Excellent. William, how are you, sir?
Good. Good to be back, and I just made it in time. I was out with my youngest son, and he wanted to play in the. Well, there's like a woodland area. It's got a barn that goes through it into Malton's distillery. That's about not even a mile from here. So he wanted to go in and Yeah, it was a nightmare. Then I thought, oh bugger, I better get going. So we had to quickly come back. We went on the bikes, and when we got there, he fell off his bike straight away. So typical, but he's all good in the hood, and he enjoyed it.
That's
So
that's good. That's the main thing.
yep.
Okay, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Doing well.
Good man. And Samuel, how are you, sir? How are you doing?
Fair to middling.
Fair to middling. There's trouble, eh? So do you want to hold up proceedings until we get something of an audience? Or we just jump right in?
Well, it on my end it says that there are like 4 viewers, but the impression that I get is that there's like a lag or something
Yeah, that could be.
because I saw 3 comments back when it said 2 viewers. So I don't know. I don't think that what's shown at the under viewer count is representative of what's actually happening.
I think you're right. So anyway, what's new with you, Sensum? I was watching the other night. When you had Joni Roten on.
Yeah, it was a stream that almost never happened. There was a fault occurred in the electrics, and this was about a week ago. And the bloke would come out, he goes, "Yeah, I'm not really sure about what's going on here." And he said the junction box, like, I don't know what it's called, like the consumer unit, I think they call it these days, but I used to just call them a junction box, where I used to put proper fuses in. Do you remember them? Proper.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was one of them. It was that old. I think it was still made out of Bakelite. And he said, what we'll do is we'll fit a new consumer unit first, and we'll see what trips and what doesn't, and we'll work backwards from there. And essentially, it was just condemned immediately. It was in such a shocking state. I mean, because some of the sockets are in pointless places where you'd never even think to use them. I mean, this is original equipment. Some of them were sort of the half-arsed attempts that the bloke who had the house before us had sort of chanced his arm, shall we say.
Yeah.
And he said, "Did you ever use this socket at all?" He goes, "No, there's never been any, not to my recollection." He goes, "Just as well you didn't, because anything you'd have plugged into that would have blown up." He said the earth was wired into the live and vice versa. And interesting. Thanks for that. So essentially, this, even though it's been my week off, which has been good in some respects, because better to do it when you're not trying to work, I suppose. But my whole house has been rewired, and I'm still chewing dust now. But apart from that, everything's been.
So have you got a nice new electric meter then?
No, that the hell of it was the former owners of this place, because I live in Borstal, John, as I always try and remind people. Nobody tends to believe it, but I've got a right bunch of train spotters just living down the way now. They've just moved into the I don't even think it's council property. I think it's just these like Shylocks that own properties and just stick the scum of the earth in. So I'm living in Borstal, but when the former occupiers or owners, shall we say, I don't even think they were the owners. I think they were just renting. We bought it because it was like it needs doing up anyway. So we knew the electrics were a concern from the start. So it was Yeah, I don't know. It's just
You've forgotten what you were going to tell me, aren't you? That's all.
yeah, but it was.
I was just asking you, did it fit a new meter?
Well, no, that was the thing, because obviously when we got in, these people using these pay for view type meters where they used to these blue keys,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
go down to the
Post office.
half ounce backy shop down the road there, the half ounce shop, and get it charged up. Like, can you put me a $5 on this and a $5 on that? Well, I just said I'm not going to be doing that shit. I'm not interested. And I think they were with some like really horrendous company like Eon or EDL or EDF or something where, you know, that they could do all of this pay as you go crap on the sly and all this shit. And I just rang British Gas up and I said, can you sort this out? Yep, no problem. And they came in and took out the old meters, put 2 brand spankers in. Unfortunately, they are smart meters. I said to them, can I get them taken out? And he goes, well, you could, but yeah. So thick meters, yes, unfortunately, forced out of my hands. But yeah. So you've got these 2 bright, sparkling, spangly units that are telling you to the millisecond what you're spending on your gas and electricity. And then the next to it, you've got this piece of Bakelite shit. And I thought, well, yeah. Well, it was the gas bloke who said, have you had the electrics checked? He goes, no, not yet. And unfortunately, until my hand was forced, which is just as well it was, I didn't really consider much of it because I thought, yeah, that's going to cost. And it did. It did. It took all my funds. But anyway, it's done now, and I can live on a diet of plaster dust and sawdust where they've been had all the floorboards up and knocking them all out and shit like that. But anyway, those are just my problems. Nothing to do with the film this evening, which was wonderful. So I'll pass it back to you, John. Nobody else listened to me moan on us. Toffee quite often reminds me, he said, you've been waffling on too long now, Sensen. Shut up, so I'll shut up.
Life in Nigeria,
Okay, as tradition demands, we shall start with the Eki, who nominated this film for Film Review Night. So, Eki, briefly, would you like to tell us why you nominated this film, apart from the fact that you may have felt yourself to have been boxed in somewhat?
All right, so I've got a 7-minute dissertation on this. I'm joking. No, you're completely
Well,
accurate.
spread it out over the.
Yeah, no, I just my options were documentary, biopic, and sports. But I'm not into sports movies. I don't really watch biopics, and documentaries aren't really my thing. So my options were limited. So I went with this one only because I just happened to like it. That's basically it. That was the whole thing.
Okay, nothing wrong there. Moving quickly along. Samuel, what was your thoughts on this movie?
This documentary, I honestly didn't know what to expect, and then it quickly became apparent that the name of the documentary was very apt, and very quickly I get sucked in, and by the end I was glad that I watched it.
That's a good start. William, what was your opening thoughts on this documentary?
I'm glad I watched it. I thought it was terrific, fantastic. Highly recommend it. Being a big fan of nature, I was gripped straight away. And if I was to fault it a wee bit, maybe wasn't long enough. But overall, absolutely well worth it. Great pick.
Okay. Sansom, what is your early thoughts on this?
once again, it wasn't excuse me, it wasn't a documentary I'd heard of, and I do like the odd documentary in there on any subject. It just has to be good. So I didn't really, well, you could kind of guess from the title, you know, my octopus teacher. So, I'll enjoy that, because I do like watching, you know, nature documentaries. You know, some of those are some of the best things on the telly at the moment, aren't they? Let's face it. I mean, I think most of the BBC's budget goes on David Attenborough, and you know, even though he's a net zero shill, you know, some of the stuff that, well, the production teams that creates that stuff is still pretty much worth watching. So, I'll give it a chance. And I have to say, I was captivated from the first sort of 5 minutes. I thought that the documenter, the chap himself, I thought there was a wonderful gentleness about him right from the start. The sort of the year, if you like, of his life, going through his own issues, his own revelations, and you know, finding this fascinating subject. It just exuded quality from the beginning. And like I say, literally within, would I have gone looking for this? No. But once I started watching it, I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was that good. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And for the people in the chat, if you haven't seen it, it's genuinely a really, really good watch. It's not heavy. It's factual. It's entertaining. And you feel like you're there. That's one of the best things about it. It's just wonderful. I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you, Eki. You've picked a little star out there, mate.
Well, there you go, folks. Anyone in the chat who has not seen this documentary, it's coming highly, highly recommended from all our reviewers. So once you get a chance, give it a go. You won't be disappointed. Okay. We'll start with Sensum. If you were leveling any kind of criticism to this documentary, what would that criticism be, and why would you level it at the little film?
I haven't really got any criticisms as such, because it was so wonderfully done. But at the start, it did seem as though it was going to be a tale of manic depression, because obviously the chap was a well-known nature photographer. Obviously, he's travelled the world, and well, particularly in Africa, when he was talking about his stint in following the tribesmen. They weren't Maasai, but they were the tribesmen of the Serengeti, and it sounded like where this story starts is where he basically burnt out and effectively become non-communicable with his family as well, because he was just literally couldn't take it anymore. But then when you get into the sort of the resurrection, if you like, of his love for his craft, it then takes a sort of, not necessarily lighter tone, because he is, like I say, he's a very gentle person, and I think that kind of personality suits itself to occasionally being melancholic. But other than that, other than sort of the, you know, maybe a tad too much melancholy in the overall proceedings, but it's not just that. I mean, there are uplifting moments. There are moments of hope. There are moments of conflict, if you like. Not with him, but you know, just when he's filming the subject matter. It was, you know, it's such a minor point to make. It seems like such a triviality, but that, if it was anything, it would literally be, you know, that first 5 minutes, it probably would have switched off a lot of the TikTok stroke, you know, YouTube Shorts generation straight away. Whereas if you have a little bit more about your character and you persevere past that first sort of 2 or 3 minutes, you're in for a rare treat. So that would be my only criticism.
I'll ask you the same question then, Samuel. If you have any criticisms, what would they be and why would they be there?
Yeah, basically what Sensum said, it was a slow start. It was like, where's this going? Who's this guy? What's this all about? So it did take a wee while to get going, and after about 5 to 10 minutes, I was, effectively glued watching it, and I could have easily done with more. So perhaps the length was slightly too short, but then again, doing it overdo a good thing. But yeah, other than the fact that it was a bit slow going at the start, and perhaps the music didn't quite gel for me. Not that it was terrible or anything, but it was a bit, bit generic.
Okay. William, how about you? If there was any criticisms, where would it be and why would it be?
Quite a tough one, that, to be fair. It was so good. You can tell the guy, he's great at making documentaries. I would like to see the one he made on when he went to Africa and followed the tribe. So if anybody knows what that is called, to let me know. Kind of nitpicking, maybe, if I'm to look for something to criticize. But when he was talking about how he was researching on
Mhm.
octopus,
Yeah,
and he was saying about how much he's learned and stuff like that. I was kind of thinking, well, tell us. I know he did mention one or two things, but I kind of felt a need to know a wee bit more. I thought he could have maybe explained or went into a wee bit of depth in regards to what he was learning, where he was getting it from, in the way of his research. Apart from that, I can't really criticize it. I would disagree that it took a wee while to get into. For me, I was hooked instantly. But I guess that's just me. But I could not put it down. Sometimes I'll get distracted by the kids. They got forgotten. Everything got forgotten. The whole world got forgotten, and I just got right into it. So yeah, I'm really happy that I watched it. It wasn't just informative. There was like an emotion attachment to it as you gradually went through. I just felt, wow, this is incredible. Although I'm big into nature, sea creatures and octopi, I knew a wee bit about it, but they always, to me, appeared to be or came across as a bit alien, if you like, something
yeah,
from Mars Attacks, maybe.
sure.
But the more I learned about it, I thought, wow, it truly was incredible.
Thank you. Same question to you, Eke. If any crit, where would it be and why would it be there?
I honestly, I don't think that I have any either. As its own project, just thinking within the story that it was intending to tell, and the success or failure of telling that story in a coherent and effective manner, I think it did great. So for me, I mean, there's a single piece of criticism that one could level theoretically, which, speaking to William's mentioning of the octopus being somewhat alien, I agree with that. And it did strike me that there is a very subtle undercurrent of welcoming the stranger. So there's a person could say that this is an attempt at breaking down barriers. Let's see the goodness within the other, this sort of a thing. And that's like an extremely low key and subtle element of the movie. I think the more important thing is like a guy that's into nature and just hangs out. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like I say, that's the only point of quote criticism end quote that I could think of. But outside of that, no, it's a great yarn. That's basically it. I just like it.
Yeah, well, I think the fact that the creature involved being an octopus in the first place, and the fact that you're all praising the film, which is a very tight hour and a half run, speaks a lot to the ability of the creature, the man, and the photography to present us with two worlds that actually did come together for a period of time, to the exclusion of the rest of the undersea world. Would anyone disagree with that? I'll take the silence as being no. And that's the problem. The problem here is the fact that there is no real criticism to be levelled. Because the story itself couldn't have been much simpler.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then I'm going to say, I'm going to come all the way back and I'm just going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to say that the entire movie is actually a giant subversion trap, and it's all about getting us to like aliens.
Well, it's interesting because I haven't given my opinion and I didn't like it.
Oh, well, then I'll let you be the foil then.
It's certainly not a film I would have chosen to watch, and that's why I was interested to know how you chose the film. Okay, I can see that you decided documentary was the way to go for you for the review itself. But out of, to paraphrase that quote, in all the documentaries in all the world, why that one? With such a creature, that's the point I'm making.
I think octopi are interesting. They're just bizarre. Apparently, they're kind of intelligent. I usually, in my own head, think of them as being like the kitty cats of the sea. Because they're just weird. They do strange things.
Well, according to what the chap in the film was saying, they are intelligent, highly intelligent. And that would certainly be supported by its actions through the part of its life that we see. It certainly had survival techniques and representative measures that it could take under certain circumstances. Robert. Whereas some critters, as you all know, the survival depends on one particular quality, which might be speed or guile. But this particular creature had a few tricks up its many sleeves, including the ability to renew its many sleeves. And that's true, Trevor. People do eat them. They're very popular in Spain. I was never really tempted to try it, to be honest, although they were always on the menu in the hotel. But I just couldn't bring myself to try it.
It's not something I would want to eat, and after watching that, I would have even less desire to watch. I'd be like, no, poor wee octopus, no.
Do you think that informs people's attitude towards creatures, Samuel? The idea of seeing something like that, would that put you against the idea of trying it as a mode of food?
Yeah, I wouldn't willingly try that under any circumstance. It's just not. No.
And would you, in your mind, would you imagine the creature that you saw on the screen, or would you just not allow that image to come in at all?
I think something like that. It's yeah, okay, it's an animal, and therefore you can, in theory, eat it. Just because you can do that doesn't mean you should. I would say, well, I'll if it comes to under the sea life, fish, certain types of fish, and that's my limit, really. But certainly an octopus, no. No.
Interesting. How about you, Sansom? Would you ever consider eating or trying octopus? Or have you done it?
Well, let's just say.
You have you?
One of the star dishes at a little hamlet that I like to frequent in a tiny little town on the Algarve when I get a chance to go. I haven't been there for about 8 years now, but when I get a chance to go there, and my kids are the same. We like these things called cataplanas, so it's a mixture of everything in a big dish, and then you get either side vegetables or rice or various breads, obviously to dip up the liquor. And one of their specialities is octopus and cuttlefish cataplana. Really nice. It's like lovely because it's lovely and tender. It's not rubbery. Oh, you want rubbery? But yeah, I've tried everything. Me, as William will attest, I've if it's got 4 legs or 8, I'll give it a go.
Okay. Trevor M is informing us they have a thing called black ink from the octopus. As is said, you see a monstrous chef waxing lyrical.
Well, in fairness, one of the tapas that you can get. This sounds really terrible, but it's so nice.
In light of the film that we have watched,
well, it's all calamari to me. There you go. But well, I won't be a hypocrite. I'm not going to say, oh no, I definitely wouldn't, because I have. It's the same as I love my little pet rabbit. When I had pet rabbits, I loved them, and that was even just a few years ago. I lost the last two, and they went within a couple of weeks of each other. But I'll eat rabbit, and I love my little rabbit, but I'll eat rabbit. No bother there. You got. I think people you've got to disassociate now. Now, if somebody was to say to me, this is where the hypocrisy comes in, and I am, when it comes to food, I am the biggest hypocrite going, because if I had to butcher the animal myself, I would definitely be a vegetarian, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the final act, as it were. So that makes me probably the biggest hypocrite of all. But yeah, I like I say, I've yeah. It's what I say, tapas bar. Baby squid cooked in its own ink. There you go, bump. There you go. There's no more jokes after that, and it's absolutely lovely. I'm sorry, folks. Sorry if you're retching, but it's lovely. You've got to try it. It's like best ever. But it's like, when in Rome, it's just
That's why I don't go to Rome.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't in Rome, actually. It's in Portugal. However, having said that, one of the finest things, and it's the cheapest thing in the world ever. Where if you're ever in southern Portugal, the Algarve they call it, but I tend to be more. It's still the Algarve, but it's the far west of the Portugal southern coast, and one of the nicest things you can do is when the lads come in from the nightly catch and they're bringing in the fresh sardines, and they dress them all there and then, and they literally just bone them, butterfly them, stick them straight onto the hot coals with a little, nothing more than like a squeeze of lemon and a drizzle of olive oil. And about 5-10 minutes later, you'll get for €8, you used to get a punnet of these things, still wrapped up in old newspaper. Oh, I tell you now. Straight out of the sea, onto the coals, into your belly. Happy days, pint of cold super bock. What could be nicer, John?
I could tell
And
you
a
what
curry.
could be nicer would be mussels, cockles.
Oh, I love mussels. Yeah.
I used to like whelks, but I took my stomach turned on them for some strange reason years ago. Clabby doos.
I don't know that one, John.
Yeah, it's like
Scooby Doo.
It's a big mussel type thing in a shell. And of course, there's oysters, all these things.
Do you know, of all the things I've tried, I've never tried an oyster. I've had oyster sauce, which probably bears no relationship whatsoever, but I've never tried an oyster. Probably because I'm a peasant and I've not lived the heights of yourself, John. Do you know?
Exactly. I remember we were in the last weekend that you were allowed to smoke cigarettes in public places. We decided to go to Edinburgh for the weekend, and we went to this high-end restaurant, and we ordered up food, and one of the things I ordered up was oysters. Love them, and up we came, and absolutely brilliant. I said to my two pals, I'm going to order that again. So ordered another dozen oysters. And this is true, guys. The kitchen staff came out to see who was ordering the oysters again. It's so unusual to order them at the end twice. But I just love oysters. Caviar, love that as well. As I've got the tastes of a wealthy person without having the wealth to go with it. But I couldn't bring myself to try the octopus in Spain. And of course, I'm not in a position to say whether it's cooked well or not cooked well. But there again, that would apply to oysters. Well, oysters are not really cooked. So I like quite a lot of the seafood that we can get on our tables. But I don't know, there's something about octopus. I think I've seen too many horror movies from the 50s. But never mind.
The beast from 20,000 fathoms, otherwise known as Sensem's entree.
You've seen that as well, have you?
Yeah. Imagine the calamari rings off that bugger. Be like dinner plates. Brilliant.
Wow. Toffee saying, wash down. He's talking to me directly, by the way. Wash down with a iron brew and a shot of Buckfast. Treble M saying it's cold as champagne tastes beer money. But I'm quite fond of a lot of the sea fish, but it's very expensive to buy. And there is nowhere around here that you could buy it fresh. So there is that. And this is the big trouble with this film. There's only two areas left that we can really talk about, and we'll start with the music, Samuel. What was your overall impression of the music from beginning to end?
It generally fit the scenes or the emotion that was trying to be elicited from the images. It did match up well with it. But to be honest, I couldn't remember a single piece of it. It was very forgettable. And it was, as I said earlier, it's a wee bit generic. But it served its purpose. But I couldn't remember a thing about it.
Okay. How about you, William? What was your thoughts on the music?
A bit like Samuel. I reckon I was too into the whole story. The music never even crossed my mind, to be honest. I couldn't recall any of it. So it was either really really good, or I was just more focused on the story. And I thought the footage that he got was incredible, to be honest. I love the underwater footage, but the whole story captivated me. Here you've got this guy who kind of on death's door at one point, coming to I guess a midlife crisis, the menopause, if you like, and he's a bit unsure what to do. He's been doing documentaries, all kinds of things, and he kind of goes back to his childhood and goes back into the sea. He grew up near the sea, went out every day. So he goes away back to it and basically regains the person that he is. And I just thought it was incredible because he sees this octopus. He wants to get to know it a bit better. It was like there was a connection there. He wants to get to know it. So he goes every day. He gains its trust. Not only that, it develops into a relationship, a friendship, where it's not hiding from him, it's coming out, it's seeing him, it actually touches him. There was one scene where it's on his chest, and I could feel a lump in my throat, a bit like bloody hell. This is quite touching to see. But I really liked where the octopus was out and he was filming it, and it wasn't scared, it wasn't hiding, and it was kind of like it was showing off. It was moving about, and then he even said it would imitate walking on the seabed. I thought that was incredible. I never knew they could do that, but I thought, oh, here we go. It's showing off now. And then it kind of got a scare, and he, using his knowledge from before, he tracks it down and finds it again, and it's like it's like it knew him, it remembered him, and they became friends again, and he got to touch it again, and I just thought it was completely incredible, to be honest. I was blown away by it.
Yeah, I think what happened was that he dropped one of the camera lenses. I think that's what it was,
Yeah, it spooked it.
and spooked the thing, and off it went.
You know, the bit that I really enjoyed was because it was getting kind of harassed by these sharks,
Oh
and
yeah,
and at one point it bit a tentacle off, twisted it off, and I mean, it's quite incredible. It can just grow a tentacle back within a
Yeah.
couple of months. It was a full tentacle again, and I think he said they've got 2,000 suckers, and he said, "Oh, imagine having 2,000 fingers." And for about 10 minutes, I was thinking in my mind, what would that be like? Would it be bad? Would it be good? So I was contemplating that for quite a bit, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure whether it would be bad or good, but it was quite incredible when.
Well, you could always count the pros and cons on your fingers.
Well, yeah, you'd be there a while, but yep, definitely. I loved the bit where it was getting hunted, and it wrapped itself up in stones and shells, but it was kind of in the open, and I thought, oh, he's left himself wide open there, because the shark, I don't think it can see. It kind of just it picks up the scent. So the shark gets a hold of it, and it somehow manages to go onto the back of the shark, and it outwitted it completely. I thought that was quite incredible, to be honest. So it was like it was learning throughout its life, like adapting, remembering. The intelligence of it definitely blew me away. And even after it, I was a bit like looking up different things on. I knew a wee bit about the camouflage and stuff. I never knew they could grow limbs back. And he talked about how most of its brain is like, I can't remember the percentage, but it's across its whole body, basically.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I thought that was astonishing. And the fact that when I looked up, I seen they've got 3 hearts as well, which I thought was, yeah,
Really?
I thought that was quite incredible. I mean, you'd think one would be enough, but there you go.
Obviously not.
And the fact it was they only live about a year, so you knew it was coming towards the end. But it's kind of, it has this emotional attachment to it where it finds a mate, and then it's got a great ending to it, obviously, where and it's recycled again. The shark comes back basically, and it's got a hold of it. But I really enjoyed it. So great pick, Eki, once again.
Sensen, what have you got to say about the music?
Sorry, John, I was muted there. Novice
Okay.
error. Well, if you want to pull the heartstrings, then 3-note triplets on a piano with a nice little pedal tone going in the background is the way to do it every time. It suited the moment that you were in. So if there was like anxiety, it had an anxious feel. If it was sort of the nurturing side, it had this nurturing feel. And then obviously when the main bloke, if you like, the documenter, he said she, I knew straight away, because I'd seen a documentary years ago on a much larger species of octopus, and it was following the life of a female, and they literally are, when they get to maturity and they get to the point where they're ready to mate, the male pops along with these, and it looks like a long stick, believe it or not, which contains his sperm, if you like, and he puts it inside the lady, and then that's the thing. And then from that moment on, she doesn't do anything for herself anymore. Her function is the sole care and attention for her eggs until they've spawned, and they're still alive, but barely, when they know they've done their job. But they don't then go out immediately. Like when she lost one of her tentacles and sort of recuperated for a little while, and then went back out and started hunting. No, it is their last gift to the planet is the nurture and the giving them the best chance possible to try and survive. And the male octopus can live for several generations. It only has a limited number of these. Like I say, they look like straws, for want of a better word. And pretty much when it sort of expends that last one, it thinks, well, I've done my bit, so it's time for me to say goodbye. And it's, once again, that's the nature of things, isn't it? When we have this biological drive to replicate ourselves, if you like, in order to pass on our genetic code, for want of a better word. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. I think we pass on a lot more to it than that. And even though octopus don't have the chance to pass on any kind of, this is your ancestry or whatever, one of the nicest moments, and like I say, they didn't even say, it might or might not be the octopus in question's offspring, but the chap's son, who he developed a much more closer relationship, having been following this octopus, having gone through his own sort of mental struggle, shall we say.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, this little octopus is crawling around his son's hand, and say you can't tell one octopus from another, really, but the way it behaved and the way it reacted, you'd say, well, that's just behavioral. But it would be nice to think that was the next generation of the octopus that they'd followed for that year previously. That's a nice little bit of continuity. It could well have not have been, because obviously we don't know how many other octopuses, if you like, were in that area who could have also bred at that same time. So it's, but he said, based on the growth, how big they are, because they literally are tiny when they're born. So based on the growth rate and the time, it's like it would be around about that size. So it's a nice little, a little bit of nostalgia there to, square, to come full circle on their relationship with the mother. And I thought that was a really touching moment.
Yeah,
I really did. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, that was great.
It's a very human moment, because we're projecting into it.
Yeah, we are, and then I'll eat it, obviously. But
of course.
But no.
I was just a way to say, if it was sensor, he would have bloody munched it.
I'm not heartless. I'm not heartless.
Oh dear. But it's a very human thing to do.
Interesting description. A long stick. So I'm assuming that's what Sensum calls it. A long stick.
Only when there's children about.
No, it's not. It doesn't have reproductive organs the way we have. It has these. They look like straws, and it pushes a straw out, and the female octopus accepts that straw, and then he sods off, and she sorts the kiddies out. Just like how it is in Harlem in New York. But we
Oh dear.
We won't go there. But yeah, no, they do. It's like I say, I saw this one. It was, I think they call it a giant. It's not a giant octopus, but it's one of the biggest species. And they followed this female, another group, obviously like a Jacques Cousteau type with the full air tanks on and everything. And they pretty much did a similar sort of thing. I don't think as extensive as this chap's relationship, but once again, once that particular octopus had become familiar with the divers and what they were doing, and they weren't any threat to her, she accepted them. And like I say, they filmed the process, and it's literally, you know, here's a straw of my stuff. Do you want that? Yeah, go on. You look okay. And then he sods off, and that's the end of it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Of course, that's the thing that younger people won't appreciate, is that when television first started in this country, there was loads of that kind of material on television. We had Hans and Lotte, man and wife team, and another couple, man and wife team, and they would show us these incredible worlds that we had never seen before, albeit they were still in monochrome, but just seeing it for the first time was absolutely jaw-dropping stuff. And these people, that's how they lived. They went out in their own boats and filmed the life under the sea and made the films and sold the films to televisions. But I don't know how much of that you get nowadays, except in specialist places like BBC 3 or 4.
It's not as much today, I don't think. It's lost a lot of funding because nobody pays the TV license, so quite right.
Well, yeah,
But
well,
just on Sensum's whole description, I think he might now get headhunted by the BBC for the next Octopi documentary.
or headhunted by the octopus.
You'll get his straw out.
Yeah, exactly. Good evening, Joni. But it's just when it started, it brought a lot of memories of that kind of material back to me, because we did see a lot of it in the early days. And I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong. I mean, you even had things like Sequest, which was a fictional show for young folk. Was it Lloyd Bridges that starred in that? They were very, very popular in the day, but I expect they were very expensive to produce, and that would be some of the problems. So there you go. And again, that would be part of the reason why I wouldn't be inclined to watch that. I'm glad I did watch it. You know, I was only teasing by saying I didn't like it, but it's not something I'd go looking for. And they did that with a lot of the wildlife stuff in the early days. Showed a lot of it, of all sorts, which was terrific. And again, it all kind of fell away into the kind of fourth-rate rubbish that you get on television now. So, what else can I say? So that only leaves me with one final category for discussion, and I'm going to start with Samuel here. What's your overall impressions of the photography?
It was really good. It got you as close as you could possibly want. I dare say, if you had a phobia about these creatures and being under the sea, it would perhaps take on the feeling that you were watching a horror film. But it was fantastic. just the fact that you had day and night, and you could still see stuff, and it was just phenomenal. Just phenomenal what they can do now with modern cameras. Just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Couldn't fault it.
Well, I'm quite disappointed because what you should be saying is, it was okay, but my dad could have done better.
You would have certainly put your own spin back in the day.
That's for sure. I can't even swim.
Yeah.
Censor.
Although knowing your luck, you would have got hit by a jellyfish or something.
No, probably. Probably. Censor, what did you make of the photography?
I thought it was impeccable. I really did. It was, like I say, watching the documentary, because of the personal aspect of both the chap filming it, the documentary maker, and also the subject matter, and the fact that he was doing pretty much all of the work himself. You felt as though you were there. The only thing you didn't have to do was to go to the surface to take a breath every 2 or 3 minutes or so. And when you have an immersive documentary of that nature, it's so easy to fall in love with it, and I did. I like I say, I think this is a really. I did drop the link in earlier, a little bit further up. There's a link to this documentary that I put in there, and if you haven't seen it, then it's definitely worth a watch. Just give it 5 minutes, and you'll watch it all the way through, and you're taken through all of the emotions that you'll be taken through from a good movie. At the end of the day, so. It was, like I say, the colours. I don't know. I think the shots that he filmed of himself when he was on the surface of the water and diving down, I think they must have been taken using a drone of some description or another. But the vibrancy of the colours, and they can use colorization nowadays to try and trick you into thinking, it's much nicer than what it really is, which is a trick that holiday companies try to do to you. And you see this wonderful crystalline blue sea, and when you get there, it's this muddy grey shit that you get everywhere else. but in this instance here, no, it genuinely was how he described it through the kelp forest. And even when he said, today was a particularly rough day, we were getting battered by swells and everything. And you saw that in the sediment, because normally it was crystal clear, but there was extra sediment. And I think that was the day of the shark attack, shall we say. Uh-huh. And it was so immersive. And that, to me, that's what makes a great documentary. A great documentary, to me, particularly if it's about a particular subject matter, it doesn't matter if that's following a particular businessman or superstar or football, like sports team or whatever. When you're watching this program and you think you're sitting there as part of the group of people that's being spoken to, or you're in the water with that person, that to me is the mark of an excellent documentary, because you've removed yourself from thinking, I'm sat here on a settee looking at a television screen, and it's, I'm swimming with this bloke now, or I'm sitting in this boardroom, or I'm sitting in this changing room with this team of sports people. And it's not that. But the fact that the filmmakers, the directors, the documentary makers, whoever, immerse you in that feeling, that sensation, that is, to me, that's what makes a perfect documentary. I mean, some subject matters on documentary can't do that because they'll be referring to legacy footage and other aspects, like historical aspects, which are equally good, but they can't by nature be immersive because it's not happening now. It's not a real-time type of documentary. It's more of a historical, investigative type documentary. So the ones where they are supposed to be real time, the day in the life of, or this particular documentary here, where you don't feel like you're watching something, you feel like you're part of something. That to me is the absolute 100% gold seal of approval. And this was, I was swimming with him. I just thought it was wonderful. I thought it was really, really excellent. I did. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting a lot. And I was rewarded 10, I think, I was rewarded 10 times over what I was expecting, because I didn't know. I'll tell you what I thought it was going to be about. When I saw the sign, I thought, I wonder if it's about that octopus that they had that was sort of predicting what the World Cup football results were going to be before they happened, which was a nice relief that it wasn't that, because obviously it would have been a documentary about football. But this was it was wonderful. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, really good, really good.
Great. What about you, William? What have you got to say about the photography?
To be fair, I would probably be echoing what Samuel and Sensum said. It was, I think to the point, and it did bring you right there. And I think as it went on, it kind of got better and better. For a guy that's on his Todd, maybe his son helped him out from time to time. But the footage that he got, I found it incredible. The fact that this octopus was, I mean, I've always seen them as very hidden and I guess anti-social. Then all of a sudden it's friends with a human and it's like playing and entertaining a human. So he was able to get right close and he left the camera there from time to time and it was checking it out, and then it realized it wasn't a threat and it went about its business when he was there. Quite the thing. So to follow it basically throughout its life, I found that quite incredible. For me, it would get certainly an award of some kind. To be honest, it was fantastic.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting, although he brought it up, that chap, but very briefly, and obviously there's no real way of taking it further. But like him, I was intrigued with the idea. Did this creature, did it have what we would call a memory for the camera and for him and the interaction between the camera and the man and itself? And it seemed to have some kind of recollection. It never always started as though it was a stranger the next time he saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when he lost it and then he tracked it down, I found that fascinating as well. You know, he had his wee drawing and it was all linked up like something you'd see on the X-Files. He was tracking it down. I thought that was incredible. And he talked about how much it engulfed his life to the point that he was kind of dreaming about it. He was in the water thinking about it. He came out, he couldn't stop thinking about it. Then it got scared. It found a different place to hide. And I think a week had passed, and I guess you would maybe think, right, it's forgotten about him, but it didn't. You could see that it still remembered the guy, and it was happy enough to come out and not be scared in any way. It was incredible.
Yeah, and I found the other thing that we humans do very easily and readily, and that was, I was projecting into the creature's eyes glints of recognition. Now, I don't know if that's real or imagined or not, but it's a measure of how engulfed you are in the material to take it to that point where you're imagining that, bloody hell, that octopus recognizes this camera lens. It looks as though it does, you know. I don't know if anybody else felt that. I felt as though sometimes the eye, because it was usually just one eye we would see, and it seemed to move as if it were looking at the, oh yeah, that's that lens thing, you know, or whatever it thinks it was. And I just couldn't help but project onto it.
Yeah, I kind of picked up on that, but it was by its movements it made. It was like,
Yeah,
oh, that's that guy. I don't need to hide away and change color and cover
yeah,
myself in
yeah,
shells
exactly.
and sand. But yeah, they've got them rectangular pupils, which I find fascinating. I think they're the only creature on Earth to have rectangular pupils,
Really
as far as I
amazing,
know.
amazing. Well, look, guys, I think we've done incredibly well. Sucking almost all this time out of this. It was a tight, pardon me, it was a tight hour and a half running time for the movie, for the film. And considering it's a documentary, I think we have extracted as much as we can extract from
I
it.
think you still need to put it to Eki. Or am
Oh,
I?
no, okay. Did I forget, Eki? Have you commented on the photography, Eki?
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you
Yeah,
out.
pretty much like it's just the footage that he gathered and put up there was what was needed to convey the overall story. So, and this also speaks a little bit to the music question as well. The music was in some sense wallpaper. It was just kind of there,
Yeah,
and neither good nor bad, but it was present in order to service the scene. Obviously, one could imagine any number of musical acts that would be more entertaining, but like whatever, that doesn't really matter. And similar with the cinematography, uh, I really, really like nature documentaries a lot, and it was clear to me that the guy who put all of this together, he knew what he was doing. He understood how to use a camera and how to get shots, how to frame things and make it all work out. So I thought it was just fantastic in terms of presenting the subject and so on and so forth. It was just brilliant. Um, I feel like in some way I should have picked a controversial movie instead of one that people would like. I feel kind of silly about that. Would have brought
don't
out a
be
little more
daft.
conversation, maybe.
No, don't be daft. Don't be daft. It's the whole point of this is, in its own way, I'm confident that this idea of a stream in the short time that we've been doing it, I think it's already achieved what I hoped it would achieve. And that is, it's had people look at movies that they wouldn't necessarily have looked at if it hadn't been for the idea that other people are picking what they want you to look at. And that film that you chose is an ideal example of that. I would not have picked that because of all these documentaries on animals that I'd seen way back when telly first came out. Just wouldn't have looked at it. I'm glad I did. Don't get me wrong. And I think I like to think that that applies to other films that we've collectively watched. And if it has, then the idea of a film review stream has done what I'd hoped it had do, and introduced these films to people in the chat who, again, may not have watched them. So I'm sure it will have done that. So let us finish on this particular subject, unless somebody's got anything they want to add to it.
Yeah, I'll add. Do you know Triple M mentioned about an upsetting ending?
Yeah,
And as it went on, I was thinking in the back of my mind, oh bloody hell, it's going to be a sad ending, because well, it lives for about a year, and he was going to follow it for a year. But when you take everything into account, you can't be sad at it. I mean, this guy finds this octopus in when his life's in a bad kind of way, and it reignites his life. it reignites his passion. Not only that, it connects him and his son in a way that money cannot buy. And his son then begins to get a passion for the same thing, filmmaking, sea life underwater, and you just get this sense of achievement from it, I guess. So I don't know if I'd call it a sad ending, but I did have a bit of a lump in my throat at the end, especially when the shark came in. I thought, you bastard. But I guess it kind of the cycle of life as well. I mean, hey, none of us are going to live forever.
You speak for yourself. I'm doing my best. But no, you're right, and that's the thing, Treble M. It's a touching ending, and it's an uplifting ending. It's everything that William has just said and more. Please don't be put off by the ending. Go ahead, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. I really don't. Because we're not talking about a fictional piece here. We're talking about a documentary. That octopus lived. That man, we assume, is still alive, and so is his son. That's all good stuff. And as William said, he gets closer to his boy through the experience of this octopus, which is seems like a very strange connection. But there you go. That's human beings for you. So don't be put off. Okie doke. Anybody get anything else to say?
Yeah, I would just echo that, saying that it is an uplifting ending. Although I did get emotional, not with the outcome, but just how he reacted when he was thinking back on what that creature meant to him. And obviously that there would be no new experiences, but it was still, it was a joyous remembering of the good times. And that was, always take the positives.
Yeah.
He got all these positive things that enriched his life. And
Yeah, that was a touching moment when he said he recalled it and he was like, "Oh, I still miss her," and I thought, "Oh God, here we go."
yeah. I definitely reacted to his reaction rather than the outcome of what happens. Nature's obvious ending.
So there you go. Don't be put off, Treble M. You'll be glad you watched it.
Yeah, there's also this thing that I was thinking about a little while ago. There's something about befriending a wild animal. I don't know why, but I really like it when I can just even for a moment, have a kind of interaction with a wild animal, one that's friendly. Something about that is really entertaining to me. And here's an entire movie about someone who is like, I'm not just going to interact, I'm going to befriend a wild animal. Something about that's really, I don't know, I like it. It's neat.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, but I think what you're talking about now, guys, and this will extend the conversation, I think that reaches back to the way that we once were. I really do. I think that capacity is in all of us, and I think it's in the animals as well. And we have been separated by our progress, as we call it, away from the animals until they have come to not trust us. But I genuinely think that in the distant past, there was a time when they did, and it was easier to be with them or amongst them. And you could say that's just wishful thinking, but I genuinely don't think it is. because it would appear time and time again that whenever human beings find themselves in a situation surrounded by so-called untamed creatures, they respond to our presence, usually in a positive way. And that can't be an accident. It just can't be. So I think it's there. I think it's always been there. And I think, given the chance, it can be rekindled, and often is rekindled. So there you go. We'll start with you, Sensum. Out of 10, what would you give it? 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest.
This for me is an easy 9. Absolutely. I don't think I've seen a 10 when it comes to films, but this is an easy 9. Absolutely loved every minute of it. Once again, the biggest shock is I would never have looked to seek out this film, even if I'd seen maybe the trailer or even if it had been advertised. And I know there are a few comments in the chat about it being a Netflix original. Don't read anything into that. It's not preachy bullshit or woke crap or anything like that. It's just a wholesome, excellently produced, excellently filmed documentary which takes you through all of the possible emotions that you could go through, and ultimately an uplifting experience. So for me, that's an easy 9, a very easy 9.
I'll ask you, once I've gone round everyone, Sensum, I'll ask you to put the link back in the chat again, please. Samuel, out of 10, what would you give it? 10 being the best.
I want to go with the easy fun and give it 8 tentacles out of 8. No, I would give it an 8. It's it reminded me of when I was younger, we would used to watch, Attenborough at his peak, talking about gorillas or desert rats or just anything, with unbridled passion and enthusiasm mixed with world-class photography, and everything was always great about those. And it reminded me of the, wonderful times watching that kind of stuff, and how I've not watched anything similar to that for 30 years,
Sure.
maybe more than that. I was taken aback. I didn't know what to expect, and I see that there's other things by the director that's associated with this. I don't know if it's available easily to see, but I'm curious to see some more by this director. Yeah.
An 8 for you.
Yeah.
Okay, William, how about you?
Do you know, it's going to have to be a 10 from me. It has to be. I cannot fault it in any way. In being a big fan of nature, I was just completely hooked, and I've learned so much from it. And it took me through the emotions. And I'm going to watch it again this time with the wife, and I can guarantee she'll cry. I can guarantee it. She cries at anything, man. I always tend to laugh at her when she's sitting watching something. Then I'll just hear, and I'll be like, "Oh no, here we go."
How about
It-
will the wee ones not watch that?
I think my youngest son Billy, he probably will. But anytime we watch a film, he's a bit like half an hour in, and he wants to leave. So
All right. Okay. He gets a bit restless.
yeah, so I might try him on it, but yeah, definitely watch it again with the wife and have a laugh at her crying. So yeah, good stuff. Gets a 10 from me.
Excellent. Eki,
I agree with the nostalgia thing. Like, I used to also watch documentaries when I was a little kid, and I freaking loved them. So the nostalgia part of me wants to say like 995, and by reflex action, I want to take off a point because I know that part of that is me just nostalgia baited. So it's like, all right, fine. Realistically, yeah, like an 8.5, maybe a 9. I liked it. Yeah.
Settling on 9.
I'll say 9. I'll say 9.
Excellent. This has got to be one of our highest scoring review films ever. I would certainly give it a 9. Being or was once a photographer myself, I understand how difficult the work is, especially when you're underwater. Me not being a swimmer and all the rest of it. So yeah, my full regards to him as a photographer, apart from anything else. Must be hours, hundreds of hours in editing suite. Cut that down to, as I say, it's a tight hour and a half to tell the story he's telling. And
I just realized something. I forgot to mention this, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll be as quick as possible. I just remembered that one of my favorite elements about the movie was his grappling with whether or not to allow the shark to eat the octopus and whether or not he should save the octopus. I really liked that moral conundrum, and I
Yeah.
thought that was absolutely fantastic. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. So,
Yeah. Do you know,
That's
I was half expecting him to grab the shark and just punch it or throw it, but yeah, I kind of felt like he was at war with his thoughts, whether or not to jump in
And
or not.
yeah, that was a good bit as well. But he didn't want to interfere with the so-called circle of life. But when it was in its recuperating state, he couldn't help himself to give it a muscle, a little freshly split muscle, just in case, for a boost. Which, I don't think, I didn't see anything wrong with that little gesture between friends, because it had become a friend by then, hadn't it?
yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't see your pet doggy or anything go hungry, would you? If you'd formed a bond. I know as a documentary maker, especially in the Serengeti, watching things like lions and leopards, and cheetahs hunting wild animals in the wild. So he was torn, but he had formed a bond by then. And when it was recuperating, it was just like, yeah, nobody's watching. Have this bit of a muscle here, And you couldn't resist in that instant. The fact that he knew to stand back when nature was taking place with regards to the shark attack is, the sign of a true documentary maker. But when that particular incident had passed, and he said, I know you're not going out much, but have a little snack, tide you over a little bit. I thought that was just a gesture between friends rather than interfering in wildlife at that point. If I might be talking bollocks, but that's what it was to me. It felt
Yeah, it
like
was-
Yeah. Yep.
I think we'll all agree it was very touching moment. And you're right to jump in there, Eki. That was an important moment in the film, and raises for all of us that dilemma: should we interfere, or should we stand back and let nature take its course? So, yeah, thanks for doing that. That was an important moment, and we all missed it, of course. Not busy talking about other things. But there you go, folks. I would give it definitely a 9, without a doubt, 9. So far, I think it's the highest scoring film that we've reviewed, which is saying something for a documentary. So thanks for that, Eggy. So whose turn is it next then, Sensor, to pick?
Oh, well, I can. Let me see. Let me see if I can pop it up because I've got a.
I know you
little-
keep the leaderboard.
Oh, it doesn't let me show it, but I can because it's not a Chrome. Oh, I didn't realize you were cancelled on. You're limited to Chrome tabs if you're not presenting. But anyway, yeah. And there's actually 2 remaining subjects left, Eki, and I'll double check the email I sent to you. But at the end of the last one, it was documentary, sports, and biopic. So we have at the moment we have 2 subjects left, which is biopic and sports, and the person to pick next is Samuel.
Ooh.
So have a little think. I could, hell of it is, I've got a film in mind for one of my picks, and it could cover any one of those 3. It could be a documentary, it could be a biopic, it could be sports. So I've got one in mind for my next pick that'll fit into those 3 categories straight away. I'm not going to give the game away on that one, obviously, but yeah. So Samuel, you've got biopic or sports, and they're not bad categories. It's just these moaners like Eki and William. We have to please, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Although-
and the sports can be any sport, and it could be a documentary as well about sports.
It can be a documentary
Yeah.
about sports. It can be a film about sports. So dip your bread. So there are some fantastic films that are fictional but are based around sports, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few coming to mind. And
Well, don't pick now, mate. Have a little think, and then John will let us all know in the full time once you've made your pick. But yeah, so but I have to say, because I think I picked documentary as the last pick in the previous section that we had.
You did
And
indeed.
And that was the K9, the Killer Mountain, and I think that's scored quite highly as well.
Yes,
So
it did.
people usually wrinkle their noses at the thought of documentaries, but in fairness, a couple of the highest scoring ones we've watched thus far have been documentaries. So yeah, interesting.
There you are.
Where are you getting K9 from?
Well, that's the name of the mountain. Sorry, K2. Sorry, K2 in Pakistan.
Oh, curries went to your head.
I started with Doctor Who.
Hey, no. I
Stick
draw
with
the
Doctor Who.
doggy. I draw the line. Do you know people say that some of the stuff that you get in some illicit restaurants might be cats? So I might have had cat, but I definitely haven't had a doggy. No. I draw nay, and thrice nay. I draw
We
the
didn't
line.
know. We didn't know.
I tell you what, right, and this is a God's honest truth. Toffee, he's away shortly. He's going to visit our European cousins over in France. And the last time I was over there, it wasn't the last time. The last time but one, I was over there on a lad's sort of week away. We ended up in a little hamlet in the south of France, in a place called Anduze, which is just off the Ardèche River. And I don't speak French. I don't pretend to speak French. I get by with hand gestures, and you sort this out for me, matey boy, and pointing. And all these lads saying, "Oh, have you ever tried that? Have you ever tried that?" No, I've never tried that. I've never tried that. And I can remember it now because it stuck with me, obviously. And it was called Cheval au Papillote. And I said, "Oh, that's that. Yeah, what's that then?" Well, it's a bit like a steak pie. Wonderful. I'll have that. and it was came out and it was wonderful. It was really, really tasty. It was fantastic. And at the end of it, like, oh, you know what you've just had there? No, horse. It was lovely. I had it the next day. Fuck 'em. Anyway, yeah. So, can you bring me a bit of extra gravy, Marcel, my old spoon? You know what I mean? You know, if you get, like I say, I am the biggest hypocrite in the world going. If I had to do the dirty deed myself, I couldn't do it. Maybe it's fishing, I could. Yeah. If I was fishing, I probably could with a fishy. But if I had the lonely eyes of a cow or a sheepy or a horsey or wherever, I'd be like, yeah, I'll go and pick some wild garlic and knock myself up a bit of pasta. But because I am the biggest hypocrite going. But then again, most meatarians are. You know, when you put them, and that's why I think, you know, there are places for the different types of, you know, practices that we have, like butchers, bakers, all these different ones, fishmongers, all of these people who are skilled in their own respective art and who have learned to appreciate the animal for what it is and get the most from the animal as possible. Yeah, because by getting the most from the animal as possible is respecting the animal, and that's what they were always. You know, if you look at people, the different tribes around the world, they always respected the animal in that way. And you know, if you're a master butcher and you can get every last ounce of goodness from a particular animal that you've butchered, then fair play. Me, I'd probably, you know, if it was left to me, I'd probably have a bit of a rump steak and then the rest of the carcass would probably go to no waste because I wouldn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Here's a rump steak. How would you know it's a rump steak? Because it's its ass. Quick, get me that steak off there. What about the rest of it? I haven't got a clue. Throw it in the bin. So I would be the most useless person ever to be a butcher. But having said that, you know, if I was asked to do, I couldn't do it. So I think there's a healthy disconnect there between those things, and that makes me the biggest hypocrite going. And I'm the first to admit it. The difference is you get all these Tristram and Jemima types who equally like their filet mignon and all this bullshit. But they, you know, oh yes, well I think this is cruel, and you're just a hypocrite, you know. You like your filet mignon and all these prime cuts of whatever, and but if you wanted to do the dirty, well yes, of course I would. No, you wouldn't. You're just a hypocrite. At least I'm honest about it.
I think you're right, Sensum. I think most people couldn't or wouldn't, or both. Not
I
sure
reckon Sensum's just not been hungry enough. If he was to wait 2 hours without eating, he would do it then.
A whole 2 hours.
Yep.
Quite.
No. No.
Do you know my late father always said to me, if you're hungry enough, you'll eat anything. And he with him growing up in Glasgow born in 1942, he always said we didn't know what hunger was. So anytime I'm not eating that, he would always get on my back about it.
Yeah, my great grandmother was a great one for speaking that way. They came through the Great Depression and what have you. And I'm sure there's a lot of truth to what she said. We never know what we'll do or what we're capable of until we are desperate, truly desperate.
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the way things are going, because we always used to say that, you know, the way that the globalists wants to play things, it's like a cruel montage of 1984 and Brave New World. Well, the reality is, it's a cruel montage of 1984, Brave New World, Soylent Green, and Logan's Run. That's what they actually want.
Yep. I thought Sensum was going to tell us he tried Soylent Green in France.
I did, but there wasn't enough meat content for me, so I had to dip it in a bit of horse first. So it was all right.
Quite
I
so.
love horses. I think there's something very noble about a horse. I really do. I think horses are a wonderful animal.
Yeah, they're
And I've
they're
been-
majestic.
Hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, I think there's something very noble about a horse. I really do. I still ate it twice though, but never mind. There you go. When in on dues.
Did you
Oh,
know
yeah.
that? Did you know that over 20 million horses were killed in the Second World War?
Probably. Yeah.
I sense someone was eating them.
I wasn't there then.
Twice that number in the First World War.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. The war horse and that tells the story. My dad, like I say, when he first started going down the mines in the late 50s, they still used Shetland ponies as the horses to carry the coal from the coal face to the lift end to get it transported up. And his little horse that he loved was one he called it Box One. And I said to him, Dad, why did you call that horse Box One? He said, because it lived in Box One, because these horses had Box One, Box Two, Box Three, Box Four. But when the NCB retired these horses, they were looked after like princes. They had a wonderful retirement for horses. They had these wide open fields. They go out and treat them. They literally treat them like princes. And my dad, even after it had retired Box One, every day or every couple of days, he'd go with a few carrots or a few apples, and he'd stand at the fence. Box One, Box One. And the thing would come flying up to the fence, and he'd feed it and be stroking it and cuddling it and everything. And then it wasn't long after that they put the electric rail machines in, and they were all retired. But yeah, I always remember that fondly. You know, those wonderful little animals. There's something, like I say, it doesn't matter if it's a Shire horse or a Shetland pony. There's something very noble about a horse. Something very noble indeed. We've grown up alongside horses in much the same way we did with dogs. So, you know, there's a kindred spirit between across the globe, a kindred spirit between horses and humans, just as there is with dogs and humans.
Yeah. I know in this town, every year, all the factories and works that had horses, they were all put on parade in their finest clothes with their bells and brass, and they'd go tramping through the town in grand parades, and there would be prizes awarded for the best this and the best that. It was quite something, because all the works had horses. You know, the two sugar houses had shires, and then you had people like coalmen and what have you. They had their own different kind of horses, and these parades were quite an event every year. And of course, being on the street, you could just go up and, you know, clap them and talk to them, and it was great. And children, of course, miss out and all that sort of stuff. But never mind. Yeah, horses don't like motorbikes. Too noisy and scary for horses. Horses belong to a gentler age, I think. So anyway, folks, I'm going to bring the live stream to a close at this point, and thank everyone for being here tonight. Although it was a smallish audience, I think it had something to do with the weather. Perhaps even had something to do with the choice of film. Who knows?
Oof.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Knocking Ecky's pick. Shocking.
Well, you just can't tell with folk, you know. Like I said, I wouldn't have watched this had it not been a pick. I'm being honest.
I think if it's a popular film, then you'll probably tend to get more folk. But it was great. I highly recommend it.
Oh, likewise.
Yeah.
That's
I loved it. I loved it.
we're all in one voice on this. But I think for some folk it would just be, oh God, no, I don't fancy that. But they're missing out, obviously. So, and I don't mean to belittle your pick. I was pleasantly surprised as to how good it was.
Oh, no. I fully recognize that it's extremely arcane. But, yeah, it's neat.
Yeah. Very, very briefly, how did you come across it?
I don't remember. Honestly, I have no idea. Sometimes a movie will just, like, pop through my field of view for one reason or another. I honestly do not recall how I even heard about it. And when I saw the Netflix logo, I was like, oh man, a Netflix logo? All right, fine, whatever. And yeah, same. I was also pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I suspect that it. But the thing is that I don't watch documentaries. I was gonna say maybe like an algorithm or something was like it was just on my feed or something for like social media, but because I don't watch documentaries or even I don't watch too many things about the ocean either, so I can't imagine an algorithm. But then again, maybe it did. Maybe it popped through my feed for some reason. That's possible too. I have no idea.
Okay.
Well, Toffee's putting forward another possibility. That some clashing between this channel and Dangerfield. Who could say? Who can't say? Anyway, well, that's also true sentiment. It's not happened before. Could be the weather as well. Who knows? You can never tell with the public. I've learned that a long time ago. So anyway, I'm going to close up the stream and Samuel, would you like to say a few words before I take you out of the stream, son?
I just want to thank everyone for coming along. It's been great participation, and it's nice to get something like this to see that you don't know, and it just makes you remember why you enjoy that sort of thing from many years ago. It's something, that's type of documentary style. I'll be checking and see if Netflix is getting anything similar to that. Definitely.
Right, son, thanks. Okay, William, I know you've got your dogs to go and walk, so what would you like to say?
Been a pleasure. Great to be back. Great to speak to Eki, Samuel, yourself, Curryman. Always a pleasure. And yeah, I look forward to what Samuel picks. So just let us know, and I'll get it watched. And yeah, thanks again. Take care.
No problem, William. Thank you for being here. Hope college is doing well. Hope family is doing well. We'll see you soon. Bye just now. Okay. Eki, a few words? Oh.
Well, yeah, I guess the The easiest is remember to floss. Also, God bless all of you, and I hope everyone has a good evening.
Yeah, you doing any live streaming or what?
I'm thinking about it because there are a couple of topics that are very prescient right now, and even though like I don't stream much, so I don't even know if anyone remembers that I exist. But there's a part of you that just kind of wants to get something off your chest, and even if it's only like 7 people who hear you out, whatever, maybe they can, maybe it'll help them think about something, or maybe I'll give them an idea that they can hone and make better and pass on to somebody else. But
Sure.
the discussion is worth it. So yeah, I'll think about it. I probably will. I mean, what in the end, what am I doing? I'm just moaning and complaining, on a live stream, but it's somehow cathartic, and other people find it to be like, every time I listen to other people talk about their concerns, I'm like, oh yeah, it's actually an interesting, I hadn't thought of that. And so you get something
Sure.
out of it, it
Yeah,
goes
of
both
course.
ways. So I probably will.
Good man.
Yeah.
Okay, doc.
Anyhow,
We'll
yes.
see.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, we'll speak soon, my friend.
Okay.
You take care. Say some. A few words from your good self. Give us your busy schedule.
No, not mine, but well, I suppose there's a little bit of housekeeping. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, on Ragnar Ironspear's channel, Rags and Jack will be doing the Dogs 2 stream, or the Dags 2 stream, as Rags calls it, and potentially, I haven't asked William yet, or DJ. Toffee's away, so potentially 8 o'clock on Monday, myself, DJ, and William will be back for another news stream where we get to sprinkle a little bit of ice and sugar made from mirth and humour on some more news black pills. But as always, thank you for having me on as a guest, John. And Becky's Pit was an absolute revelation. Really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me on again, and I look forward to the next one.
No problem, my friend. No problem. So, there you go, folks. The movie review once more. How quickly time flies. I shall now bring on the music. There we go. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone who came along tonight, including the guests, of course, and your good self in the chat. And as I always like to finish up by saying, adios, au revoir, cheerio, and until Tuesday evening, goodbye for now. Take care. Bye just now. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, folks.
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene, swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides a fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees.
All together now,
But love's much more
so much more
than we can know.
that we can ever possibly know,
We are one small glow
but an important glow.
in the eternal flow.
And thank you very much
Melodies
for
of long
subbing to the channel.
ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, past the consequence. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony.
All together now,
But we're much more
so much more
than we can know.
than we can ever possibly know,
We are one small glow
but a very important glow.
in the eternal flow. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow.
Thank you very much for subbing to the channel, if you didn't hear me say it. Appreciate that. Okay, folks, you take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye just now. Bye.